brief this cabinet, and indeed today is an expanded cabinet because you have assistant ministers and members of parliament, and because of the need to be absolutely united over this matter and transparent, so that the nation, we carry the nation along with us, even as we honor these dear colleagues. I thought to be fair, Your Excellency, to ask the Honorable Minister Amos Kimunya to come and give us a brief preliminary report on what may have caused this tragedy on our nation. I think Minister Kimunya must be in the house. Please welcome.
Thank you, Your Excellency the President. In the interest of time, let's all protocols observed, colleagues. It's a sad day for our country. Yesterday morning, and basically what I will do is just run you as colleagues through the facts as we have them, so that we can at least read from the same page. Your Excellency, yesterday morning, the police helicopter registered as 5Y CDT, which is a Eurocopter AS-350 by type, and which is operated by the Kenya Police Air Wing, departed Wilson Airport at 8:32 local time en route to Thiwa. And with it on board was 6, which is a allowed capacity. It has a capacity of 6. It had 6, which was now the late Minister Saitoti, late Assistant Minister Ojode. There are 2 security personnel and 2 pilots. The preliminary reports from both the tape as well as the video, which has been gathered through the reconstruction, show that the flight was normal from 8:32 up to 8:37 when it reported that it was now getting out of the Wilson airport zone, and was then handed over to a new frequency, 118.5. At 8:38 a.m., they confirmed that they picked the new frequency, and after that, there was not any other communication with the control tower. So from the video trackings, it indicates we lost the aircraft at 8:42 a.m. and everything else started now at the point of investigation with gathering the bits and pieces in terms of what could have happened, and that investigation is still ongoing. There's lots of work that needs to be done in terms of piecing together the evidence that's coming from the various investigators. The Chief Inspector of Air Accident Investigations was on site, the police on site, and that investigation is still ongoing. In terms of the weather, it was indicated weather was fine. In Ngong area, the visibility was 8 kilometers although in fog. And at this point, it's difficult to ascertain exactly what happened from the time the contact was lost to the time we actually lost the aircraft. But I just want to say the aircraft was new, was registered in this country, was manufactured on 27th of July 2011, that is last year, At the point of registering it, it had done 32 hours and 33 minutes, and it was it was registered in this country at the beginning of this year. The two pilots that we lost, Nancy Getuanja, was an experienced pilot. He had been rated and endorsed to fly this kind of aircraft, and indeed they've been on this since 2008, the two of them. They were trained together in South Africa, and they had the endorsement to fly this aircraft, which was endorsed on their licenses as early as February this year. So the aircraft was very new, less than 100 hours. The pilots had the experience, and indeed the mystery is really what happened between 8:38 and 8:42, which we can only now try to reconstruct from all the technical details coming from the police, from the air traffic, from the ground, and we will continue with that. But in terms of going forward, and I believe that again within the law, because of the nature of this, the profile of this kind of investigation, we will have to have a public inquiry into the causes and what happened, and within this afternoon we will be constituting the team, how to gazette a team that will then carry on the public inquiry, so that all the people who have a stake in this, the families, the public, and every stakeholder, the manufacturers, and all that, will be given on a platform where we can then get the truth, or get as much information, not necessarily to reverse what happened, not even to know what happened, but more importantly, to even help the aviation industry into the future in terms of what needs to be done, because that's part of the obligations we have to the wider aviation industry, what needs to be done to avert similar incidents into the future. So that public inquiry will be constituting the team as of this afternoon, and we constantly in consultation with the Attorney General's office and the Chief Justice's office and the other industry players to actually come up with the people who will then give that task to lead the public inquiry on our behalf. At this point, that's the most we can say. I would like to ask that we avoid all manner of speculation, and in this respect, you'll have noted yesterday and part of today in the media, there's mischievous reporting, including showing some photographs of some supposed aircraft coming down. We have established this is sensational reporting. This has nothing to do with the specific aircraft, and I believe the media house is in the process of retracting that story because that was a bit irresponsible on their behalf, on their side, to actually create an impression that the aircraft came down in those circumstances when they had no facts. And indeed that was picked from the internet and assimilated into a Kenyan situation. But as of now, that is the only thing we have to say. I'll keep briefing you as and when we get any further information. Thank you, Your Excellency.
I thank you, Minister Kimunya. We continue to thank you, Mr. President, because following this tragedy, you were the first to send your message of condolence, including declaring 3 days of national mourning. And therefore the country continues in that sober mood. And I really wonder whether there will be need at this stage for clarifications on what Minister Kimunya has just said. Because as you can see, this is conducted in the full view of the media and as transparently as possible. But we thought that we could deal with the situation as reported by Minister Kimunya. And so with those remarks, I now call on the Prime Minister to come make a few remarks and invite the President. Mr. Prime Minister.
Your Excellency, the President, Mr. Speaker, fellow members of Parliament, it is a very sad day indeed for us as Kenyans. Yesterday was a terrible day for us because all of us woke up in the morning looking at a very bright day. But then the tragedy fell. And just want to make a personal confession that I was myself in flight in a chopper toward Nakuru when the pilot showed us an SM message he received from the control towers that a chopper, a police chopper, had crashed somewhere near in Kajiado. That was the message, with a cabinet minister. We were in a shock until we landed. And when we landed, then more information now became available. When this information became available, then the names were also now produced. And when I called and the security officer in charge, he confirmed me, yes, there has been an accident. There were 6 on board, and we fear that there are no survivors. At that moment in time, with those who were around, we decided to cancel all the functions that we had scheduled to perform yesterday, and decided that we should proceed to the site. But those who were with me tried to urge me not to fly on a chopper, because a chopper had been involved in an accident. But I said we do not stop driving vehicles or cars because another car had been involved in an accident. And because of that, we made a deliberate decision to fly to the scene. And when we arrived there, because there was a big crowd of people, we moved in with the help of the police to access the scene. It was a terrible sight to behold. The plane, the aircraft was in, the pieces were all over scattered. The only thing that you could recognize was the tail of the chopper. The corpses remained, the burnt remains were covered, but they were just ashes of what had been human beings. And the police themselves said they could not identify the bodies. They needed to be taken to the morgue for DNA tests. So this is what happened to our colleagues yesterday. Many eyesight accounts, because they will vary. And when a thing like this happens, there will be a lot of speculations. A lot of speculations, and the best thing to do in a situation like this is to desist from fanning the fire and waiting for professional investigations. But yesterday was the 10th of June. And all of us remember 4 years ago, exactly on the 10th of June, we lost 2 of our colleagues, a minister and an assistant minister, in circumstances that are very similar to what happened yesterday in a plane crash. This is what you can call a terrible coincidence. Terrible coincidence. That to the day and very close to the hour, we lose again a minister and an assistant minister. We don't know, and we are not superstitious, but it is a terrible coincidence. But at times like this, when passions are very high, it is important for the country to rally together, to come together. This is the time to give leadership and direction to the country. We condole with the relatives, the wives, the children of our departed brothers. We condole with all of them, I mean relatives, all, because there were 6 in all. And we are mourning all the 6 departed colleagues, not just our parliamentary colleagues. As has already been pointed out, and all of you know, we were in Mombasa on Friday, and our colleague George and Ojode were with us, very jovial. When Professor Saitoti arrived, we met him at he found us at the entrance. He was dressed, of course, in his blazer and a tie. And then I joked with him. I told him, George, you have broken the dressing code here. Everybody is supposed to be casual. He told me, oh yeah, I didn't even realize that. I had a meeting with an American diplomat, Johnny Castle in Nairobi, and that's why I'm still in a tie. So he quickly removed his tie and became casual. Then we received the president and came into the meeting room. And all of you remember how passionate he was when he was talking about his subject. The point when some of you began to clap for him to finish. But he was not finishing, because probably he had a premonition that he was talking to you for the last time. Because I know that George knows protocol very much, but on that day he would not stop. And he spoke for all that time. He told me, because he felt very strongly about what he was talking about, that we should have peaceful elections. I think we owe it to George Saitoti as members of parliament to do everything in our power to ensure that the coming elections are peaceful. I think that will be a fitting tribute to George Saitoti. With those remarks, ladies and gentlemen, it is now my singular pleasure and honor to invite His Excellency to make an address to this audience. Your Excellency.
Honorable members, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for turning up in large numbers as we mourn the death of our departed colleagues. This is a sad moment for our country following yesterday's tragic helicopter crash. We have gathered here today to hold consultations on how best to honor our colleagues and 4 loyal and hard-working members of the Kenya Police. The Honorable Professor George Saitoti and the Honorable Orwa Ojode were highly respected members of Parliament who served our nation diligently. We will greatly miss their services to our nation. They were patriots and committed public servants. At this moment, the best honor we can bestow upon them is rededicate ourselves to maintaining peace and security in our country. The two departed colleagues were steadfast in promoting peace around our country. Let us stay on this path that they always cherished. As we embark on thorough investigations on the cause of the crash, I appeal to all Kenyans to remain calm. I assure you, all of full investigations, and the Kenyan public will be informed appropriately. Once again, and on behalf of the government and the people of Kenya, and indeed on my own behalf, we send our heartfelt condolences to families, relatives, and friends of the 6 Kenyans who perished yesterday. Indeed, this is a loss to the entire nation. We pray to the Almighty God to rest the souls of the Honorable George Saitoti, the Honorable Joshua Orwa Ojode, Inspector Joshua Tonkei, Sergeant Thomas Murimi, Superintendent Nancy Gatwanja, Superintendent Luke Oyugi, in eternal peace. We thank God for their service to the country and pledge our support to their families now and in the days ahead. Thank you. May God bless you all. Ladies and gentlemen, I said these few written words for the reason that it's a very serious moment, and I didn't want to get lost saying too many things. Ladies and gentlemen, what we need today is to decide how we are going to honor them and how we are going to make sure we get the full detail of how the plane lost the direction, and then we also arrange that we will do everything, take part in their burial. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for coming this morning, and thank you. Asante sana.
We thank you, Your Excellency, for those very comforting words. If you look, I do not know whether the draft agenda was circulated, it being understood that this was actually a cabinet sitting, and therefore we have had to marry and collapse everything into one. And item number 4, Your Excellency, we're supposed to discuss the government funeral committee, including county committees and visits to the bereaved families. And I have to find some place for Mr. Speaker, perhaps under item number 5, where we're looking at the program of the week. You may have noticed the Honorable James Orengo consulting with us a few moments ago, and I think he was having a proposal which I'll ask him to propose under item number 5, which has to do with the official opening of Parliament buildings, the refurbished chamber. So you know it was supposed to happen tomorrow. So Jim, I will probably ask you to give us the results of that consultation. But before we come to number 5, the proposal, Your Excellency, is to have a government committee. This is just a proposal chaired by the Vice President, 3 ministers, 2 assistant ministers, and 2 members of the backbench, including the 2 joint whips, to be assisted by a technical team headed by the acting head of the public service, Wana Kimemia, so that we can, but I can tell you, I can tell you for a fact that it's basically the technical team that is going to have to help us, but we will put in place the policy direction so that we can give our colleagues a decent send-off. So that is a proposal. So the county committee, particularly in Kajiado and also in Homa Bay, those 2 committees, including, of course, for the senior police officers who the President was able to mention, we look at this thing all together so that we can see how best, including, of course, consulting with the families, particularly on the funeral date itself, or the funeral dates, as the case may be. So if I hear no Mr. Speaker will address himself on item number 5, but I think then probably Jim may have to speak after the Speaker. I think it's proper. So I think under number 4, that is what I wanted to announce, the results of those consultations. You may have noticed before we came here, we had a sitting, but that is proper so that at least we can guide the discussion. So that was what was proposed under agenda item number 4. And of course, we'll have to give the specific names when it comes to the backbenchers. I know the name of Honorable Conchella was mentioned, as well as that of Honorable John Pesa for the backbench. It's just a working team. We'll keep everybody pretty informed, but we'll have to get the names of the ministers and the assistant ministers to work together. Yeah. If I hear no contrary opinions, we will give out the dates. Yes, Richard. Yes. I see absolutely no problem with what Honorable Richard Anyonka is proposing. Kabando.
Thank you very much. Can we also propose that if the other officers came from counties other than where the members came from, we can also have county committees to cover those other officials?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. So with those remarks, may I now, Excellency, those additions, I'm sure the Honorable Francis Kimemi has taken note of those very useful contributions. On the program of work, Mr. Speaker, would you kindly take the floor? Yeah, there's another item. Yeah, indeed, if we can go by recent experience, it's so that unfortunately we can't avoid this, that Mr. Speaker will recall you led us as members of Parliament to pay condolences to the family of the late Minister John Michuki not so long ago. I see you playing this role again as you come to take the floor. Karibu.
Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya and Commander of the Kenya Defense Forces, Your Excellencies, the Prime Minister and Vice President, all honorable members of Parliament, mine is largely a formal role, but before I do so, allow me to reiterate our deepest sorrow to the families, friends, and indeed all Kenyans over the death of our two colleagues, the Honorable Professor George Saitoti, the Honorable Orwa Ojode, the security team that was with them, and the crew that manned the ill-fated helicopter. It's a great loss to us. We are lost for words, but we pray that God will help us to bear the loss. And this I do on behalf of all staff of Parliament, members of Parliament, and on my own behalf. As an immediate gesture of respect for our departed colleagues, I have consulted with His Excellency the President, and I have his concurrence to announce that the official opening of the refurbished chamber, which was programmed to take place tomorrow at 10 o'clock, has been postponed and will take place now on Thursday at 10 o'clock. So members, please note. Secondly, that the Speaker's Kamukunji, which relates to parliamentary business with passage of constitutional bills, that will proceed because it is not a ceremony. It is just parliamentary business, so that Kamukunji will proceed tomorrow as programmed. And honorable members, further, that tomorrow afternoon, when we commence the sitting, we will find a slot at which all members of Parliament can convey their condolences. So that business will be taken at that sitting. I otherwise want to thank you all and thank Your Excellency, the President, for this opportunity.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your comforting words and assurance that the legislature stands together with the families of our departed friends. As you are talking about the program for the week, in fact, I'm sure now my learned friend James Orengo will feel that he has nothing useful to add. Do you have anything? Okay. Okay, we are going to then open. I wanted to open under AOB because it's only fair that we hear very minimal comments, if it is possible, taking into account the serious nature of this sitting. So, Honorable, I start with Honorable Orengo. Do you have a microphone next?
Yes, I have a microphone.
Okay.
I think everybody, in one way or another, has expressed condolences, and as you continue to express them, they are being done on our behalf. But Your Excellency, the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defense Forces, and all protocols observed,
the members of parliament present decided to make use of the time while you are away to discuss agenda item number 5. And happily, in one respect, I think there's total concurrence on the issue of the Speaker's Kamkunji. Members of Parliament felt that that should go on. Again, with a little bit of correction on what the Speaker has just said on the question of official opening of Parliament buildings, the refurbished chamber. I think it was a unanimous feeling that that ceremony should take place after the burial of our departed colleagues. I think that was a unanimous feeling. It is not interfering with the business of Parliament, the normal business of Parliament, but as we know, the two of them were very active members of Parliament, and as a sign of honor and respect, the opening should really take place after they've been laid to rest, because that has nothing to do with the normal conduct of business in the House. And thirdly, which I'm constrained to mention because it was discussed as any other business, Your Excellency, you would allow me to say this, and members of Parliament knew that you are consulting seriously, and we have at least seen that you are consulting on the matter under discussion. But members of Parliament were waiting here for more than 2 hours.
Yeah.
And they said that the next time when you feel you need a little more time, just send word, and then we would then know how long.
Jim, we take that point.
To wait.
We take that point.
Yeah. We are just making it formally and strongly, because when you came in, there was no mention of it at all.
Thank you. I think we do.
Yeah, I think it's important.
You're being very civil.
And then finally, on agenda number 4 on the visits, it was felt that if an opportunity could be given to members of Parliament to visit together instead of separately.
Yes.
So if some buses, in order to not to have too much traffic, if some buses could be made available, and we go there as a team at an appointed time, even today. Today in the afternoon. Again, that would go a long way for showing sympathy and solidarity with our departed brothers. That is all that we discussed while we are away.
Thank you, James.
I hope I've represented what we said. Yes.
Thank you. Your Excellency, on our behalf, indeed on your behalf, and all of us who kept these colleagues waiting for a little longer than they would have hoped, I think we offer you our sincere apologies. I think that's in order. Secondly, Your Excellency, the proposal by the Honorable Rengo that the refurbished chamber be opened officially by your good self after the funeral, I think it does make a lot of sense. Is that a unanimous? Yeah? Thank you. Then, of course, I'm going, before I give the floor to 1 or 2 comments. You don't want? Thank you. Let it be unanimous decision that, Mr. Speaker, we're going to do the logistics so we can visit in these buses today, tomorrow. The Honorable Naomi Shaban seems to have a burning issue.
Thank you. I just wanted to suggest that as we are going to visit the families of our departed colleagues, we must also have members who are going to also visit the families of the other officers who also lost their lives. I think it's very important.
Yes, indeed. That is why I think that committee, the proposed committee, will try to put the names together so we can do some assignment of those responsibilities. I think that makes a lot of sense. Only one thing is, tomorrow at the Speaker's Kamkunji, and this the Prime Minister reminded me, after the consultations of the Speaker's Committee, we all know that we need the 2/3 majority to be able to do what we must do if we are going to remain on the right side of implementation of our new constitution. So please be ready with regard to the public finance management bill and the county government bill after the consultations tomorrow morning. And of course, I'm sure that we'll also have occasion on the floor of the House to be able to express some of what I'm sure you all would wish to express now. But I think this will have opportunity tomorrow in the afternoon, even as we probably have to do the necessary voting. I thank you so much. And now I think His Excellency can take his leave. Thank you.